Welcome back to the WTF Where's the Focus podcast. How about that? The kids love it. That's right. So does so does Fred Flintstone, man. Trying to get back at this, jumping on the wagon, getting my podcast back, living the dream. You know how it goes. Still out here in Tennessee now. We just got back from California. It was wonderful. I think that's last weekend. It was one of those special weekends that make you kind of stop and think, what's going on with my life? Yeah, that's right, kids. What's going on with my life? No, it was an incredible weekend. And this weekend, I got to officiate one of my best friend's wedding. And, two great friends, actually. I got to I've met her a few times, but I got to be that. And on the flight back, I got to think about it. And, they could have chose anyone to stand up there for one of the most important days of their life. But they trusted me. Is anybody believing that they trusted me to even come close to doing that? I mean,
nope.
Me neither. That's for darn sure. So they trusted me to do that. And, I got to speak in front of some friends from the heart, and I helped tell their story as best as I can. And almost in the same breath, very quickly after that, I found myself at a high school reunion. Whew, man. It's just everybody else. I'm not getting old. Stay the same age. There's a little throwback. Only certain people probably that were at the reunion are going to get that joke. So you talk about full circle. 1 minute I'm standing in front of a room officiating a wedding, and the next I'm standing with people that knew me before the books, before the speaking, before the coaching, before the success of any kind that I've had. And it just, you're different as life goes on. You're just different. And, being at that, they just knew the younger version of me. And, I found out a couple of things that the two buddies I was with, that I went with, whose wedding it was, and my other buddy who's been on this podcast, I found out they were the nice guys. I thought I was nice. I thought somewhere around there, I thought I was right from who I was. Oh, come on now. I did think I was a nice guy. I really.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was serious. I thought it was. So whatever the case, as the years went by, I'm sure everybody wouldn't believed, the things about me of where I am, because there's been plenty of years and I've heard plenty of things that, look, buddy, you're not smart enough to write a book. You don't speak eloquently enough to be a speaker. Your grammar, that is for sure, isn't good enough. How are you going to write a book? You haven't even read a book, right? How are you going to coach successful people? How are you going to help them do that? And, maybe today, if I'm being honest, you might have heard those same words, maybe from a teacher, maybe from your mom, maybe from a friend. And this is what I've learned. People are really good at telling you who they think you are. Again, blessed that I got to be at the reunion. No one was really saying those things, but I guarantee they were thinking of it. But, people are really good at telling you who they think you are. But here's the great part, is you get to decide who you become. And that everything that you do, you get to decide. And it kind of goes hand in hand of what I do in coaching with selling. Because great selling starts long before you sit down in front of any kind of customer or referral or anything. It starts with knowing who you are. And I think we all struggle of who we think we should be and not who we actually are. Kind of knowing where you came from and knowing what you stand for and being comfortable enough with yourself that you don't need someone else's approval to walk into the room with confidence. And it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing when you're standing up officiating a wedding or walking into people you haven't seen for 35, maybe 40 years. Here's the thing. People think, just in general, that sales is about having the perfect words. It's not. They think the best salespeople are the most polished people in the room, that they've been selling for so long. Not necessarily. They think that you need perfection, and your vocabulary has to be perfect, and your presentation has to be perfect, and you have to have the perfect grammar with this perfect pitch, and you have to do the sales techniques and the tie downs and everything that you need to do. But I've learned something from 35 plus years of being in sort of sales. People buy from people they trust, and that trust comes from authenticity. You've got to be authentic. Trust comes from looking someone in the eye and actually listening to them. Trust comes from caring more about solving a problem or their problem than proving how smart you are, and how often we do that. Let me tell you more about me, or more about what I know, and more about everything I can do. Trust comes from kind of being comfortable enough with who you are that you don't have to pretend to be somebody else. I remember early on in my career when I would put a suit on, it was almost like I was pretending at 18, 19, 20 years old, that I was pretending to be someone. I was putting this suit on saying, that's not who I am, but I'm going to pretend to be this salesperson. That's not selling. And maybe that's one of the greatest gifts of our past. So going back to the reunion, it reminds me where I came from. And I'm grateful, Lord. I'm grateful for maybe the mistakes I made. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the things that didn't happen. I'm grateful for all those ideas I had that just didn't come through. But I'm also grateful for the success, the insecurities, and the people that believed in me. Even when I didn't believe in myself. And yes, even those people that doubted me. I'm kind of grateful for that. I'm going to say it again. Your past matters. But your past does not get to dictate your future. There's a huge difference. You definitely should know where you came from. We all need to know where we came from. You should remember those lessons, and you should remember those struggles so you don't make the same mistakes twice. You should remember what it felt like when someone told you you weren't smart enough or talented enough or polished enough, and how you work through those. But don't build a house there. Just use it. Let it become part of your story. I have lots of stories of people told me I would never be successful if I didn't go to school, if I didn't do these things. You're going to be a waste, and you're just wasting your time. Because here's something I want every person in sales, every salesperson to know, and really just anybody listening to this to understand. The things that you once disqualified, you might become, are the very things that connect you to those people. Maybe I don't speak the way someone else does, or think like a speaker should speak, or say the things they should say, and that's okay. I speak like me. I have a lot of Danisms, I like to call them. There's a whole bunch of
Nope.
Yes, more of this than that. Yeah, maybe that's my grammar. My grammar's not perfect every time, and that's okay. I'll keep learning. And maybe I wasn't the person people expected to write a book, but I wrote one anyway, and 2 of them. And maybe someone didn't think I had the background to become a successful coach. I didn't ask their permission. That's the point. At some point, you have to stop allowing other people's opinions to become your identity. You can listen, you can learn, you can improve, but you don't have to accept the limitations as your own. And the same thing happens when you're in sales or just in a relationship. In sales, you're going to lose deals. You're going to hear no. Someone's going to tell you you're too expensive. Someone's going to tell you, they chose a competitor or they're not using you. Someone's going to question your experience. Someone's going to decide you're not that right person for them. And you're not careful, you'll carry every one of those moments into the next meeting. So just don't. Just don't. If I could say anything and look past and tell my younger self a whole bunch of stuff, is take those things and learn from them. Learn from the yesterdays. Learn from those people who told you those things. And then walk into today's opportunities as a person you become because of that. This last weekend reminded me that life is interesting. And it really has an interesting way of showing you your journey. Again, I got to stand in front of 2 great friends and help them begin their new chapter. And I got to stand with people who knew me in my earliest chapter. And somewhere between those 2 moments, I realized something. We just spend too much time trying to erase what we came from instead of appreciating how far we come. Don't be embarrassed by your beginning. Don't apologize for your story. Don't let someone else's description of the old you become the definition of the current you. We left there and, the pretty party. And it was like, oh my gosh, how nice Ray was, how nice Marshall was. And man, you were so standoffish and you didn't, I know my past. I own my past. And I learned from the past. But it did not choose my future. Because every day you get another opportunity to decide, who am I going to be? What am I going to stand for? How am I going to show up? And whose voice am I going to listen to? The person that's telling me I can't, or the voice inside that's saying, watch me, man. Watch me. I could do this. So whether you're trying to close the next big deal or build a company or write a book or become a speaker, become a coach or lead a team or simply just become a better version of yourself, remember this. You don't need to become someone else's success. Become who you are. Keep learning, keep improving, keep showing up. Remember where you came from, but be proud on how far you've traveled. Never, ever, 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 ever give someone the power to decide how your story ends. Your story's still going. It's definitely not ended. And will continue to keep going. Your past is important. But again, you get to choose who you become. And that might just be the greatest sale you've ever made to yourself, selling yourself on the person and the capabilities that you want to become. This was important to me today. I hope there's people that's stayed tuned in and listen because, it hit me hard coming home, flying on that plane, being with two people that I care about immensely and realizing where they came from and where I came from and how we traveled. And then yet you see the people back that listened to the people that told them they can't. Well, I'm here to tell you you can. Maybe have a little more faith. Maybe have a little faith in God. Maybe have a little faith in who you are. But you can. And if no one else is going to tell you that, I'm going to tell you, you can. Past is important, but not as it relates to who you're going to become today. Hey, thanks for tuning in, my WTFers. You like this? Hit a send, share this with some friends, hit a subscribe, do something. See if you can help me out a little bit. Help brother out. I was going to put Happy Gilmore on today right there. If you see it right there. Hitting the long ball like Happy. But blessed I get to do this. Blessed that I have some listeners that actually tune into this. And as always, go have some fun and make some dreams come true.